My name is Dan Mansfield. I'm a member of the Canadian Historical Documentation and Imaging Group, better known as Canadim. Canadim itself was established in 2011, and my role is many, but my main focus has been on scanning, 3D scanning. We had our first project in France near Vimy Ridge where we were reproducing carvings that were done in cave walls by Canadian soldiers waiting to go into battle. And we did that using a type of scanner that required us to move it inch by inch along a rail on a tripod and capture multiple images of the carving, which may be at the most maybe 2 feet by 2 feet. Some of those scans would take upwards of 3 to 4 hours to complete because of the tedium of having to manually move the scanner, because it's a stationary scanner that we had. So when we were approached in the last few years by the Vimy Foundation and the maquettes that Walter Allward did for the Vimy Memorial, they wanted to have them 3D scanned, and that would be completely impossible with the scanner that we had, being a stationary scanner. And we began to look around to see what there was that we could use that may, fill the need that we had for that. And we came across the Leo Artec technology. And we started to search where we could find that, and we found Objects Unlimited right here in Toronto were the source for that. We don't get paid for what we do. This is kind of our passion, and we want to do the best job that we can, because we usually get contracted by, well, in this case, the Vimy Foundation. Previous to that, we did this on our own, and the government supported us with some funding through a grant for that. But yeah, it was great getting to know Steve and Objects and the amount of help that they gave us. What they wanted us to scan are the sculpture maquettes that Walter Allward used, and they wanted to use it mainly for a website. But the challenge now is these scans are 3D, 360 degrees around. They're not on a wall. And you have to get all of it, and they're on average about 8 feet high. So a huge area, and not only is it a huge area, there's a lot of folds in the material and nooks and crannies that you have to get into that was exceptionally difficult. And to not have the Leo, it would have been completely impossible. I don't know of another scanner that could have done it as well. So with the Leo itself, well, it's battery operated, which is actually freeing, but you're limited by the battery. And we were expecting that the battery would run out quite quickly, but it's not the case. We have 2 batteries. And we would scan 8 hours a day, and then we would charge up at night, and we'd still have lots of battery left at the end of 8 hours. So, and that's pretty steady scanning. The other, I guess, the minor challenge is it's kind of heavy. So when you're scanning, it takes you a little while to get used to it if you haven't been doing a lot of it. But it was easily overcome, and we were able to get some pretty good images. As I said, the original project that we did, where we used a stationary scanner, we would take 2 to 3 hours for a 2x2 image. With the Leo, I could scan that same thing in about 3 minutes and have better quality in the scan than what we had before. Well, Steve walked us through, and I keep referring to Steve, but he was the main guy that we dealt with. He walked us through the process of how to acquire the equipment, and we didn't just buy the Leo, we also got the Space Spider for smaller artifacts and more detail. Steve is a very passionate guy about what he's doing, and it's contagious when you meet him, and he just loves what he's doing, and it's great. And for me to have spent 2 weeks in a cave in France scanning, inch by inch across a wall, and then to see him, scan something in 2 minutes with a Leo, and it was eye-opening. It was amazing. And so I'm not saying it was 100% smooth when we were doing this project in Ottawa, but when we were doing it, anytime we had a problem, Steve was available. We would talk to him. He'd walk us through it. As well, when we first acquired the equipment, he had printed out some information that he found was the workflow for, not just scanning, but also the post-production in Artec Studio, which is an amazing piece of software that comes with it. Canadim is a volunteer group of, we're a not-for-profit, and so we've had 2 major projects that we've worked on, and Objects was involved in both of those. And on top of that, the Vimy Foundation wanted to get a 3D model printed of Canada Bereft, which is one of the most iconic carvings on the Vimy Memorial. And so we had that printed by objects, and she was about 3 feet high. In life, she's probably about 10 feet tall. When it was first printed and I saw a picture, I thought, well, that's not looking quite as good as I was hoping. But by the time they were done with the sanding and the priming and so on, it was perfect and did an excellent job. We were searching for technology scanners that would do the job that we wanted to do, and at the time it was difficult to find something. Well, I shouldn't say that, because the Leo popped up right away, but it was difficult to find something that could compare to it. The big issue with buying this is it's fairly expensive, and so you've got to have some backing and or really deep pockets. And we were lucky enough that, again, as I said, we're volunteers, but we had the Vimy Foundation support us on this, and we were able to get the equipment we needed. Once we saw what the Leo could do, and having known objects and the fact that you're in close proximity to where we are, it was a no-brainer. As long as we could afford it, that's where we were going. We have 0 complaints, and everything that we've asked of Steve, he did, and his staff. And we've been to the shop a couple of times and seen the things that are being produced there, and it's amazing. It is really cool stuff.